Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next, we have a special one. It's our usual influencer segment infused with our cannabis culture segment by Hi There. And we are featuring Phil Cowley. He's a pharmacist at Cache Valley Hospital who came up with Phil's My Pharmacist handle. And he's trying to bring the sexy back in pharmacy. Now, he has a huge following on social media as a result. He now goes by Phil's My Pharmacist with close to 1 million followers on TikTok and close to 40,000 on Instagram. Now, with over 20 years of pharmaceutical experience, 4 boys later, and a beautiful wife of 25 years, Phil has a very unique perspective on healthcare, family, and life. And he's coming on in just a few to chat cannabis, CBD, THC, and help us control some of our ailments and pains with naturally derived methods versus the synthetic drugs regularly prescribed. Now, remember, on the Hi There platform and app, you will find a cannabis-friendly social network filled with so much insight and knowledge, a community that will greet you and make you feel at home. And today we are chatting all things cannabis, from being a banned substance to becoming a billion-dollar industry. Cannabis has sure come a very long way, and the legalization of marijuana for recreational and medical purposes paved the way for its boom in the market. Now, before a series of xenophobic anti-marijuana laws came into full force in the US in the late 1930s, cannabis wasn't just easy to access. It was common for doctors to prescribe its use specifically for migraines and headaches. Even the personal physician to Queen Victoria supported cannabis as a treatment for headache conditions, an endorsement founded on an established history. Now, ancient Greeks and Persians recommend using cannabis to treat ailments relating to the head, and the earliest known document of Arabic pharmacology documents the use of cannabis for headaches as well. So there you have it. And here to chat some more is Phil, my pharmacist. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Hey, thank you. What a great way to start the morning here. It's fantastic.
All right. Now tell me, how did you become Phil, my pharmacist?
Well, the business started tanking after COVID, and I needed to do something different. And there was this whole group, this whole age group that didn't know what pharmacists did, how they did it. And I started thinking, if you can educate people, people are smart. You educate them and really give them good information. They want what's best for their healthcare. And for whatever reason, 6 months later, here I am. Started in October, and this is where we're at so far.
I love it. I love it that you offer alternative solutions to pain management versus what big pharma pushes on us. What made you shift part of your attention to CBD and THC derived products?
Well, I think that the nociceptor cycle that you get with pain is understood. It's not well educated about. A lot of people think if you take a pill and you get better, then you keep on that pill, and they don't realize that your brain triggers itself to get ready for pain. And so if you continue to treat on the same pathways we did for years, then you're going to have this opiate problem over and over again. When they get used to having opiates inside them, the body upregulates all of those receptors. So they need more and more. And it's not giving them pain relief, but it starts becoming more of an escapism for them. They just don't have to worry about it for a minute. When you look at it from that point, the downside of opiates become very stark. And you know that there's no real end to the opiate type thing. So we look back at something that was in the U.S. Pharmacopoeia from 1930 to 1946. Parker Davis, Eli Lilly, Squibb, they all actually offered products with the cannabis in it until 1946. And then we got rid of it because it got demonized. Well, now we're returning back to a lot of those things. Some of the newer drugs, your CGRP drugs for headaches, like your Nurtec that cost $900, modulates the same receptor that we knew that the cannabinoids did 100 years ago. So you start looking at those concepts and think, okay, why are we reinventing something when it's already there?
It's interesting that you say that, because when the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937 passed, it was opposed by the American Medical Association, and the criminalization of cannabis stalled research into its, medicinal potential and therapeutic application. But this really didn't stop people from using the plant, right, in an attempt to alleviate the pain. So we've seen that people have continued to use it, but that the research has been yanked. And so in order for us to continue to make the strides that we want to make in this industry, it's extremely important for the medical community, for pharmacists such as yourself, to stand up and tell big farm that, listen, there is some very proprietary uses here. Let's chat CBD, for instance, right? CBD, cannabidiol, and
Yeah.
it's a very popular natural remedy used for many common ailments versus the tetrahydrocannabinol THC, which is the main psychoactive cannabinoid found in cannabis, which means it causes the sensation of getting high. And that's the difference, right, between THC and CBD, that causes the sensation of getting high. That is often associated with cannabis, but however, unlike THC, CBD is not psychoactive. Talk to me about some of the benefits CBD offers.
So they've got the two receptors, the main receptors when we talk about any cannabinoids. You've got the CB1, that's mostly in the brain. That's where you get the high feeling. It also has a lot to do with the cognition, but you've got the CB2. And now the CB2, that's found everywhere else. It's found in your joints. It's found everywhere. And the CB2 goes through, and there's a receptor, and this receptor that's out there is the TRPV. And what that does is it works to block the excitement of neurons that are overreacting. So for years, we've been using that in things like capsaicin creams. We've been trying to figure it out, how you stop that bus from getting through that tunnel. That's what we've been wanting to do from the beginning, right? Well, this substance, it already goes, and if you have a good, clean, verified product, and that's one thing you have to bring up. There's so huge variants in CBD products that you have to have something that somebody has really cleaned, somebody who really knows what you're getting. When you get that, it'll go to those TRP receptors, downregulate those set receptors, and so at that point, all of those pain receptors start to dissipate. The nerves don't fire, and you start to get relief in your joint and muscles from that in particularly. So, and we've known this for a long time. We've seen the downregulation of those receptors for a long time, but because the research money wasn't there, and now it's kind of the Wild West in a lot of ways. If you don't get your products, your cannabinoids from someplace reputable, then you don't know what you're getting. So now you get all this misinformation. Even now, last night went perusing for it. There's still so few major studies that are being done. I don't understand it where we know it works. Why aren't we studying it more heavily? And the only thing I can figure is the money's not there for whichever company wants to make a lot of money.
Well, I mean, listen, at this point right now, you when you look at the market and you see that, CBD and THC and or combined, they could reduce symptoms related to even some mental health disorders, because we know for a fact that mental health disorders are often treated with pharmaceutical drugs, which can cause a number of side effects, including, drowsiness, agitation, insomnia, there's sexual dysfunctions, and even headaches, worse yet. And yet medications like the benzodiazepines have the potential for dependency and may lead to substance use disorder versus something like CBD that's much more naturally occurring. Talk to me about the dependence on prescription drugs and the rise of that dependence that you've seen, especially in our youth.
I think that it's pretty easy to say that people are stressed out over the last couple of years. And in particular, you're seeing a lot more anxiety disorders that are coming through. And I think that should have been expected from everything we had going on. If you look at some of the medications out there, a lot of them will work on the 5-HT system, Buspar, a lot of your other medications. And so what we do is we think, oh, let's treat serotonin, which is the 5-HT3. So we hand a kid, let's take a Buspar. And they're like, well, now I'm not sleeping. So then you say, okay, well, let's give you an Ambien, and that'll go through and block the GABA receptor, right? And they're like, well, I still feel nervous all the time. Like, well, maybe I can give you a beta blocker like propranolol. Next thing you know, they've got 2 or 3 or 4 medications. And now propranolol gives them heartburn, right? The Ambien's giving them a hangover effect, so you got to give them something to wake up. The funny thing is all of those receptors, the GABA receptor, the 5-HT3 receptors, all of the vasodilation that comes from your propranolol, all of these things we use on a routine basis, the cannabinoids hit it from the beginning. So if the cannabinoids are hitting those and you have that one, now I'm not dealing with heartburn because that doesn't happen with your CBD products, right? I'm not dealing with blood pressure drops that you get from the beta blockers. And so you get this cycle, and even more than like addiction on the way that people perceive it, which is this person's out there craving. It's more of, okay, now I feel like garbage because I'm taking this other pill. So I give them another pill. Now that pill creates another one, and you get this rolling snowball effect.
Yeah, it's like a vicious cycle, and we know for a fact that CBD oil has shown promise as a treatment for some of these mental health disorders, such as anxiety. There was a recent study, a Brazilian study. 57 men received either oral CBD or a placebo 90 minutes before they underwent a simulated public speaking test, and the researchers found that the 300 milligram dose of CBD was the most effective at significantly reducing anxiety during the test. And we know for a fact as well that CBD oil has been used to safely treat, if you go one step further, insomnia and anxiety in children with post-traumatic stress disorders, PTSD, right, which is a very a serious type of anxiety disorder. Because if you look at the further studies, a small 2009 study also found that CBD was effective for reducing this PTSD related symptoms, including nightmares in adults. So we're seeing these emerging studies come out, and back to your point, it is extremely critical that we continue our research in this field. What are your wishes as a pharmacist to be able to tell the world out there, the naysayers perhaps?
I'm all about education. I think there's a lot of people out there that want to say everybody's stupid. Like, don't give people information, they'll hurry and ruin their lives. And I don't believe that at all. I think that what we have is under education. If you went and looked at where the neurology works, which of the neurotransmitters it works on, how it does it, now all of a sudden you're saying, wait a minute, I just spent $900 on a headache medication that this has been doing since the 2nd century. It's all about information. And I believe in people. I believe in people being smart. I believe people want the best for their healthcare. And I don't think most people that are using any of the cannabis products are doing it just for fun. I think you're seeing a mass self-help with it when it comes to mental health. I think that you see people feel like, I'm not anxious, I can perform. And then they're like, oh, he's just a pothead. And they haven't even stopped to look at what's going on in that person's life.
Very true. Wise words. Well, listen, we're out of time, but thank you so much for coming and chatting with us. It was an absolute pleasure chatting with you. You're so full of knowledge.
Well, I'm so glad to be here, and I really appreciate it. It was really fun. Thank you so much.
You got it. Now, listen, guys, is CBD legal? Well, hemp-derived CBD products with less than 0.3 THC are legal on the federal level, but are still illegal under some state laws. Now, cannabis-derived CBD products are illegal on the federal level, but are legal under some state laws. So check out your state laws and those of the ones anywhere near where you're traveling. And keep in mind that non-prescription CBD products are not FDA approved, so you have to really check the labels carefully. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WR, the voice of New York. That was our cannabis culture segment brought to us by Hi There. And that was Phil's My Pharmacist. Make sure you check him out on his website at Cache Valley Pharmacy. That's CHE valleypharmacy.com, or check him out on the gram or on TikTok at Phil's My Pharmacist. You're listening to A Moment of Zen. We'll be right back after this.